Buenas tardes y saludos a todos. Hey, welcome to the PGP podcast on Super Bowl Sunday. I might be timing the show for future episodes, but it doesn't matter because it's one of those great Americana things. Hey, Josh Tawad, Prop Principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA, ready to rock and roll on this special time. Hey, but heads up, in April, we're going to start going from 6 to 4 p.m. Central, and then we'll kick it back up again to 6 p.m. when fall starts again. Let's be real. I'm in Texas, and we all know that football is king, as you can see today with all the chicken wings. So we'll be going to 4 p.m. over the summer, and then come football season again, we'll go back up to 6 p.m. Hey, Dr. Moreno, I don't know if she's going to be here. I have no idea, because you all know, if you're a follower of the show, that she's in Tanzania. She was on the airplane. I have no idea how many gazillion hours it takes from Texas to Tanzania, but she's over there. So follow her on Newcomer Success on her IG. I think TikTok also. So you could see how she's teaching the Maasai, but she's also, I don't know, giving high five to giraffes, knuckle sandwiches to hippopotamus, whatever it might be. But you know what? That is a sign of a true educator right there. That's a sign of somebody that's willing to expand their horizons, but not only provide lessons to Maasai kids or other kids in other countries, but being a learner. She's absorbing different ways on how to teach, because if you know or you don't know, I'm letting you know right now, she goes around the United States, especially in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas, on how to help EB kids. Some of you guys still call us EL kids. Some of you call us EL. I don't know, LEP. Some of you call us LEP kids. I don't know, but you know what? It's different alphabet soup, and that's the way that it goes across the United States. So since I have no banter back and forth with Dr. Moreno, let's start off with a chinchilagua moment. And Robert is like, chinchilagua? Well, how do you eat that? I know you don't have that in Nevada, Robert. I know you don't. Well, let me tell you, you're like, who's Robert? That's our guest if you didn't follow all the promos that's coming up here. Chinchilagua is a game. It's a game played by Mexicans. I haven't heard anything else from El Salvadoreños or Nicaraguenses. And you normally play it during family get-togethers or posadas in Christmas, and you all line up against the wall, or you all line up against a tree, and you yell, Chinchilagua y arriba, boy, and everyone's laughing. Boom, you jump on top of your cousin. And then the next one yells it, Chinchilagua y arriba, boy, everyone jumps up until your little cousin falls off and cracks his head open. And the grandma comes out with a belt or with a chancla or with a coat hanger and starts hitting everybody because the little one got hurt. All right. Well, it's all fun and games when we get to work and to school. And as we get closer to state testing, that's the game. It's not going to go away, guys. Doesn't matter who's in office. It's not going to go away. It's the game in town. And so as we're getting down to that time, number one, you can't be complaining about testing. Get over it. Get over it. I still hear people complain about testing. We should not teach to the test. Oh, we should give us freedom like before. When before? In the 60s? In the 70s? When teachers used to give us A's if we bought chocolate for a fundraiser? Come on. Or when the coach would make us copy word for word from a chapter and give us a check and 100 on the grade book? Come on. So I'm letting you know, whole group instruction is effective to a certain degree. Just like Todd Whitaker says, there's nothing bad with good lecture. Good is the word, good. There's nothing bad with whole group instruction. That's good whole group instruction. But you know, right now, with the influx of EB students, with GT in the same classroom, with 504 in the classroom, with special ed, you need to focus on that. Please excuse my Hispanic, me being a Hispanic, differentiation. Some words still don't come out, all right? Even though I'm a product of full assimilation, full immersion. Differentiation. How are you teaching about the progressives in different ways? Do you really think that those students that just came to you from Jamaica understand the progressive movement? Do you really think that that kid that has his 504 with ADD will sit there and listen to you talk about the progressive movement, about women's suffrage, about prohibition? You think they're going to sit there just listening to you saying, oh, okay? No, you've got to find a way to differentiate your subject and ensure that it's engaging, because this is your competition right here. This is your competition, the TikTok generation. That's who you're in competition with, teacher. And you just can't sit in front of your classroom, and then when your evaluator comes in and you're still using the 1980s factory style lecturing, that's not going to help you, because you're not getting all. And what am I talking about lecturing and all? Because it's all tied to state assessments. And how do we make sure that we provide the curriculum at grade level to the students that have different needs? So keep that in the back of your mind. We cannot be anymore in this society right here. This society right here. We cannot be a lecture society. The kids will swipe you away. Just like they swipe onto the next TikTok, they will swipe you away. And that's why all these states are coming up with no cell phone policies across the board. Because who's more interesting? How are they getting loves and likes? They're getting loves and likes with this. Dr. Craig Boykin, from GED to PhD, made a great point at the North Carolina Middle School Conference. He said, a lot of kids, especially minority kids, don't have both parents at home. And when they don't have both parents at home, they don't get that love that the Leave It to Beaver family used to get. The love, el amor, el besito. They're being raised by grandmama. We know this. We see it. Yes or no? You know we see it, Iowa. You know we see it, Wisconsin. Where are they getting their love? Right here. The likes. So when you take away their cell phone, that's why they're fighting you. They're fighting you because that's their connection to el abrazo, a big hug. So keep that in the back of your mind. The abrazo, the hug, is something you need to give by connections before content. And I know that Robert and I will be talking about that in a little bit, because every single last speaker that I've met, every single last conference that I've gone to, every single last book that I read, more often than not, it's about connections before content. And if you connect with them, then they're going to listen to you, even if you do have a good lecture style. But even though you have a good lecture style, are you really reaching everybody? No. That's why it's crucial to differentiate. Get those kinesthetic learning. Do the corners. You know what? Make them all stand up. Do you believe this? Ask a simple question. Go to one side of the corner, to the other side of the corner. Make them make a kinesthetic learning instead of just drill and kill lecturing to the kids. If that makes sense, good. If it doesn't make sense, we could talk about it. You could always reach out to me. Robert, right now when he comes out, you could reach out to that cat right there, because that's what he talks about. But if you need more specific information, check out episode. I wrote it down because I'm an old man and I forget. And I wrote it down over here. Episode 3 with Mr. Eric Francis, DOK, top dog, shows you how to question people, not question like in a negative way, but question your students. And also Sean Kane, I am a follower. I am a whole disciplinarian of Fundamental 5. So check out those two shows, episode 3 and 13, which will show you how to fully engage your students. And you have it right here, because right here, it's free PD. You don't need a PO. You don't need to ask your principal. You don't need to do none of that. But without further ado, I have our guest, and I met this guy. Okay, hey, just out there. We don't know all people that are in the world, and the Lord placed this guy on my path. Day 2 of NASSP Denver. I think it was day 2. I think it was after lunch, one of those around that time. I walked into a session, and from that moment on, you make those connections. Social media is a great avenue for success, because I've been following this cat, and that cat's on fire right there. Hey, Robert, welcome to the show. ¿Cómo estás? How are you?
Bien, ¿y tú?
Muy bien, hermano. Todo bien aquí. Hey, brother, well, thank you for being here. I appreciate you right now. I'd like to start off by asking you, people know you, but I need more people to know you, and hopefully this is an avenue to get you some more connections with people out there. So tell the audience who you are, what jobs you've served in education, and which was your favorite. Let's build that street cred with our audience. Who you are, what jobs you've had in education, and which one was your favorite. Go.
Man, I appreciate your time. And before I even get started on that, I got to say, I love your intro, because all the things you're talking about are things that I just believe in so much. Relationships. My new book is about differentiation, which is amazing. And then engagement. I just agree with all of those. So this should be an awesome conversation. And thanks to all that listen. Robert Hinchliffe. I'm a principal in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I actually, I've only done 3 jobs really in education. I taught 4th grade for 6 years, which was awesome. And then I was assistant principal for 7, and I've been a principal now for 13. So it's really a pretty straight shot to where I'm at. All my jobs I loved. I'm just going to be honest with you. I love teaching. Teaching was great, but by the end of the 6th year, I just knew I was ready. I've always wanted to be a principal. That was my goal in life. That's what I wanted to do. And the progression here in Las Vegas was to teach, and then you become an assistant principal, and then you become a principal. So I did that in 2011. And then in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, I got to open Tyrone Thompson Elementary School, which was a challenge. So I've done 3 jobs, but they've all been awesome in so many ways. We were talking earlier, and right now I would say I have the best job in the world 98% of the time. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, and this is going to be a good one.
Why was it a challenge? Hey, administrators, when we hear that, we're like saying, bro, spill the beans as much as you can.
So when you're chosen to open a new school, you think, oh, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to be able to pick my staff. I'm going to, build all these great things. But then all of a sudden, when a pandemic happens and you can't really go watch teachers teach before you select them at your school, you can't build relationships with parents outside because you can't talk to them or get within 6 feet of them. And then all of a sudden you're opening a school with a staff full of people that you've never really met. You've never been able to hang out with. You certainly, we had to wear masks, so you've hardly seen their faces. That's a challenge. But then you throw in the fact that a new school, you hope the technology works because you're all online. And then, of course, parents, I think relationships are tough because here we are in the middle of a pandemic and we need them to trust us, but they don't trust you. They don't trust really much of what's going on. So to open a school online in the middle of a pandemic, that's a challenge.
There you go. Exactly. And I think that's part of it right now is the new up and coming generation of administrators, that some of them are really getting bumped up because of the exodus of both educators and administrators. They're a little bit too raw with experiences. So I think this is a great guy to call to, guys, because you know what? If you've been an educator, specifically administrator, before Rona, during Rona, and after Rona, you're a totally different administrator. You have totally changed the way that you see education. Those of you that came after Rona, you really have no way of comparing and contrasting. Especially, let me measure your temperature. Let me make what is that spider tree that we had to call the tracing, whatever that.
Man, I've tried to block a lot of it out.
Right, I agree. Or do you still have the circles in your the 6 feet?
Being slightly OCD, I did not let them put those down unless I was 100% sure they would come off.
Oh, okay. So there you go. All right, but I digress. Hey, let's go back a little bit more. Let's peel that onion, la cebolla. Let's go a little bit back, brother.
Let's do it.
Who or what inspired you to become an educator? Because you know what? Because of these alt-cert people coming in, they're like, oh, I can't be a teacher. And I've shown through 40 shows that not everyone lined up their dolls to be teachers. Not everyone meant to be an educator or an administrator. So what or who inspired you to be an educator?
So there's really two people. I've written about one of them, and then my high school principal was amazing. So that was one influence. But when I was a junior in high school, I was blessed. I had an open period, and I got to go be a teacher's aide for a special education instructor. And she set me up to help a young man named Sean, who was in her class. And I remember helping him get something right. And I said, high five, Sean. And he gave me a high five. And from that moment, I knew what I wanted to do. So I was blessed in the fact that from the time I was a junior in high school, I knew the path I wanted to take. And then also with my high school principal, Mr. Butler, he was just the coolest guy ever. Always supportive. Relationships were most important. So I just kind of parlayed those two experiences into knowing where I wanted to go in the future with my life.
So there you go. Now, let's go a little bit more into the Robert life. So let's say this. How were you as a student in high school or college? Because some people think that to be an educator, you got to be nerd. I was not a nerd at all, okay? Don't get offended if I say nerd, all right? If you're a Gen Xer, we use that a lot. I'm sorry if I messed up some feathers. All right. So what kind of kid were you, whether a college student or high school student? But most importantly, how was your first year in the classroom?
So looking back, I would say I was an average student. And the reason I say that is school was important. My parents were very, very strict about that. School is important, but I never really applied myself as I would hope my students would because I played sports. And I'm from a very small town in Washington State where sports is kind of, Friday Night Lights. You talked about football in Texas. It's big. It's big in Washington also. But having that small town and that connection, but plus playing sports, I didn't really take the classroom as seriously as I probably should have. Again, I just didn't have to, just to be honest with you. Things were kind of easy. But at the same point in time, I was focused on, who we're playing on Friday or basketball or baseball or something like that. I didn't really honestly learn to study and be a good student until I got to college after my first semester, when I realized I was no longer the big fish in the little pond. And, you go from a small town of 1,000 to the University of Idaho where there's 20,000 students, and all of a sudden you're just another person. So I had to learn how to study after my freshman year in college. And then, of course, I got on track, did everything, graduated. That was no problem. But then, of course, which I'm sure you've talked about or thought about, is no matter how much you do in college or student teaching, you learn more in the first year of actually teaching than you have in your whole probably educational career. And that is just getting through it, conquering the dips, overcome adversity, caring and wanting to do better. And you learn and you get better. And then what I found is you look forward to the next year so you can improve. And that's really the path that I took.
Awesome. Love it. Hey, big shout out to Frank Poland, who was our guest last week on our Central Office show. Check it out. It was a great thing from leaders from across the United States at their tier of leadership. Thank you, Frank, for being here. So, you know what? You've broken one of those barriers that this is my 32nd year in education, and people talk about the book. So, you know what? My ADD. Move your head. What does your back say? What does the wall say? Blazing Trail.
Blazing Trail. So we're the Trailblazers at the school I opened in 2020. We went with the mascot Trailblazers, and our mantra, one of our mantras, is to blaze a trail of success.
What's your mascot?
What's funny is I get asked this all the time. We really don't have a mascot. We kind of went mascot-less. And what we have is we have a house system. So we have 5 houses, and then they have animals that go with them and their names. We have a push by some teachers to get a mascot, and we think it'll be a dragon because they can breathe fire. But we didn't go with the mascot yet.
Oh, just a quick idea. In the city I come from, I'm really in El Paso, and that's why it caught my eye. We have the America's Trailblazers, and the color scheme is red, white, and blue. You see all that caught my eye.
Yeah.
And they have like a pioneer, the Trailblazer to the west.
Yes, we thought about that. We thought about using, we have so many people that kind of blaze a trail out to Nevada. We thought about Kit Carson. We thought about all of those individuals, but we just kind of never got to that. And we just stuck with, so Tyrone Thompson was a trailblazer in Nevada. He's a great guy. In fact, in 5 years, I've never heard a bad word about him, which in today's world is phenomenal. And he was kind of a trailblazer in his own right. And I kind of like to do my own thing. So when we got to choosing, it was really no doubt we were going to be the Trailblazers. And we just never went with the mascot. We have a logo and everything, but it's more like a fire. And then his nickname was T Squared. So it's got 2 T's in it with a square at the bottom. But we're getting a push from people to basically get a mascot, which I think will happen soon.
All right. So, but I'm sorry, but I digress. That's why
Yes,
I like having. That's why I like different guests here, because I have to focus on 5 different people.
Nah,
so
man,
I like. Let's keep. Hey, everybody out there. We said before the show, we're just gonna riff back and forth.
Let's just roll, man. Let's just roll.
All right. So, how did you, my man? Because I know there's people out there, whether it be in the classroom or current administrators, that want to author a book, and it's not easy. So how did you find the time to do that, bro? You know, show the people, show what you got.
I mean, you told me to be prepared. I got books everywhere. I mean, I've got more than just teaching. This is my favorite because it's all about relationships. Talks about 25 teachers and their favorite student as well as their favorite teacher. My first book, educationally, I was sitting at Wet and Wild with my wife, and I was mad about something. And I said, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to try to make a change. And so perspective is my whole thing. So the first book it's all about perspective. And then, we talked about engagement. So we call it Start on the Sidewalk, which is all about engaging people from the moment they get on your sidewalk. And then this one just came out. I wrote this one with the AP or Shauna. It's called Differentiating Differently, which is basically another way to think of teaching, which you taught earlier. I wrote that down, which hopefully we can get to. But it's a funny story. So I wrote the first book. It's all about perspective with the hope of trying to change education because I see the path it goes, and I struggle with that sometimes. And I wrote it in 2019, and I found the time. It was really easy, honestly, to just write it because when you're passionate and you want to get it out, you'll find the time. But then the pandemic happened, and I opened the new school, so it kind of sat on the shelf for a while. In 2022, Dr. Brad Johnson came out to our school to kick our school year off because our theme was relationships over everything that year. And we were walking around afterwards, and I said, oh, hey, I wrote a book. I just took a moment of faith. And I think that's important. I took a leap. I said, I wrote a book. Do you have any tips on how to get out there? And he was such a nice guy. He's such a nice guy. He said, when you get all set up and you're ready, contact me, and I'll give you some people to talk to. Well, a few months later, I wasn't quite done with that one. He messaged me. He said, do you want to co-author a book with me? And I said, hell yes, I do. I mean, I'm no fool, Dr. Johnson wants you to write a book. I'm writing a book. And so essentially, he was nice enough to let me be a part of a book called Building Dynamic Teamwork in Schools. And that really just spurred the passion of more books. What I found, and this is just me being honest with the guest, is I didn't enjoy the publishing part of it, the publishing company part of it, so much as I don't really, it's not that I don't value them. I just found it easier to kind of work with myself. So what I did is, with the help of some friends and some co-authors, we learned how to use KDP in Amazon. And basically, you can publish anything in Amazon if you put the time in and the effort. And that's really been my avenue to get my word out. Again, I didn't want to take the time to get to know publishers and try to sell them on my stuff. I know what I say is what I believe. And I know that it works just from my experiences. So my goal is to get my experience and my knowledge out to the people. And KDP Publishing and Amazon's kind of let me do that, as you can see through some of the books here.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those. That's a true blessing when people drop the knowledge, guys, and that's free of charge to you. So if you do have those ideas, and if you need to fine tune it, let me tell you, just reach out. I would say, I don't know, Robert, you can agree with me or not. I would say that 97% of most educators, if you reach out to them, they'll respond to you in a positive way and in a supportive way. What are your thoughts on that?
I would hope so. Again, we're all in this together. We all have to share each other's ideas. And I think there's a quote out there. I don't know exactly what it is, but like 90% of teaching is stealing, or something like that. But again, we're all in it together. And if your goal, like mine, is to make an impact for the positive, then if someone reached out to me, of course, I'd want to help them, or someone should help if they reached out to anybody, really. I mean, it's a team game. It's a team game here.
I don't know, bro. I've met a couple of those 3%ers, but we'll leave that alone.
Yeah, it just drives me nuts, though. I mean, I don't understand the team concept, the non-team concept. I don't get that. All the kids. I mean,
that's all right. But we digress on that aspect right there of the 3%ers, right? Hey, you know what? Let's start off with some of your bread and butter in regards to one of your books that you just mentioned right now. Like I said earlier, we always talk about relationships. Kevin Curtis that will be on the show next week. Principal Cafele. I mean, we have so many yourself that understand the crucial aspect of connecting with your kids. But not everyone does it. That's why they're an F campus. That's why they're a D campus. I don't care what you believe about whether or not to rate schools. The fact that it's there, all right? And there's a rating system. So can you get some ideas of how the novice educator, novice, alt cert, that was out in the business world, got riffed, showed up to education to teach a CTE class. It's happening. It's happening. Or they have enough credit for English, whatever it might be. What are some strategies you've observed, and you've seen tons, brother, that can help those educators make a better connection with their students?
It's interesting because I've worked for people that just cannot connect to kids, and I don't understand how you got in the business of kids to begin with when you can't just talk to someone. Some strategies for me, I think, is for some reason, I don't know what the answer is. We really focus on it here at Thompson, but some teachers forget that they're humans first. Get to know them. I mean, if you have some kids, let's just use the Super Bowl, for example. If a child walks in with an Eagles jersey on, then you say, oh, you're going to watch the Super Bowl. You just connect with them on a personal level. And once you do that, you start to build trust with people, and you start to, develop this relationship, which is the word, right? And so if you do that, that's going to help. And then, I think where people go wrong too, take those things that you learn about that child and use them when you're teaching. Use them to help them connect to the lesson. For example, the Super Bowl is perfect for math. If you're in 4th grade and you want to I'm just making stuff up off the fly, and you want to say the Eagles scored 3 multiples of 6 and the Chiefs scored 4 multiples of 6. Who won the game and what was the score, assuming no extra points were made? Just simple things like that. You're connecting to the kid that loves football. Or if you want to go the other route, you can go, okay, oh, hey, how many times do you think Taylor Swift's going to be on TV? Well, now you got all the Swifties in your class. They're with you. So we have to use the personal to drive the instructional. That's just kind of what I believe. And I think the biggest tip I can give teachers is know your kids as humans first, and then use that to kind of differentiate or to make it personal, and you'll have more success.
So true. So, right? Robert, doesn't that blow your mind, bro? You're in the kid business and you can't talk to kids?
It amazes me. I used to have, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but we used to do these things called, we do barbecues. We celebrate student success in some way. And an educator would just kind of sit off to the side and not even kind of try to have fun with the kids. And I just didn't understand that. We're here for them. We're celebrating them. So let's at least talk to them or try to have fun somehow. And I just don't understand that. Honestly.
Right. Well, what I do understand is that Prince Okafele, thank you for being here. The close of the Fantastic Four. Right there, we start off on Saturdays on Facebook Live with Coach Sean Hurd, always talking about data. He's always talking good. The 2 doctors with Tammy Taylor, Sheikah Houston, and Jefe. Jefe close it out. Super Saturday. And the 4th show, the bookend right here, the PGP podcast. Muchas gracias, Jefe, for being here. And Jefe, I know you're going for the Chiefs because you're a Giants fan, but that's okay. I'm a Mahomes guy too, even though we're both NFC East followers. Frank, use the personal to drive the instruction. Yes, Frank, just like Robert just said right now, use the personal connection to make sure that we are there to support our kiddos. I got a message from Dr. Moreno. She's trying to come in from Tanzania, but I said, I don't see your signal right there. So let's get into the next part of this interview, Robert. Hey, let me ask you, in my brain, do you ever go by Tony or just Robert?
No, Tony is the, some people would call Tony he's the comedian. And then there's also
the guy from the Republican.
He's on Rogan all the time. Good friend of Joe Rogan.
Yeah. All right. I get you. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's right. It's spelled different, but it's weird. We're probably both. It's English, and how it's English, I don't know, but yeah, it's English. So
all right, we will not confuse you with that guy that talked about Puerto Rico. Whoa, and we move on again.
Directions that way.
All right. So just like I said earlier, for us, I don't know about in Nevada, it's time to do our formal T-test. We call it T-test, our evaluations. And, I meet with a good portion of our team members every Wednesday to talk about instruction. And it's one of those things that if you don't know anything about our school, Robert, it's all EB students. I've got, in one table a kid from Afghanistan, from Sierra Leone, from Vietnam, and a couple from different Central American countries. And it ain't easy to teach that. That kind of understanding, it's not easy. And so it's crucial that, I tell our team members that we are not the sage on the stage, because we cannot connect with those kids that have no foundation. So we have our classrooms, like I said, Robert, 504, SPED, GT. We always leave out the GT kids. That's not fair.
That's not
And
fair.
hey, educator from Nebraska, because they're GT doesn't mean you give them 10 more problems. That's not
right.
GT.
No, it does not. No.
Hey,
Not.
hey, Idaho, 2 more paragraphs is not GT. That's not how you challenge GT kids. That's not even probably in their GT domain. But I digress. So we have all these different learning styles. What have you seen has been an effective tool for obviously a multicultural classroom that helps with the differentiation of curriculum as we're getting closer to those state tests?
It's interesting because my last school was Hispanic, majority Hispanic. And then this school, even out here in the suburbs of Las Vegas, we're majority Hispanic also. I think the difference is that our students out here in the suburbs tend to speak English more frequently, which it doesn't matter though. One thing that bugs me is that we classify kids personally because they're just kids and they need to be taught at their level regardless of if they're GT or if they're EV as you're talking about them. One thing that one thing I see we've got to embrace, and people might struggle with this, we've got to embrace AI. We just have to. It's such a powerful tool if you use it. Like one of the things we talk about in our book, Sean and I, with differentiating differently, is you can literally go into AI and you can say, ChatGPT, I need an article about the Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs, that's at Alexile 800, that includes these vocabulary words, that talks about the weather. So you can hit all these standards and boom, you're going to have a passage that does that. You can do that also for students in their language. So we can use this technology really to move us forward as differentiating in the classroom. But without that, I think we have to go back to, it's a challenge. When you have a student that comes into your classroom that does not speak any English for sure, that's a challenge. But we're blessed in the fact that there's other programs out there that can teach them the first 100 words of English or things of that nature. But if you don't have that, I think really to go really old school, I think it's just good old Bloom's taxonomy. If you can just ask any student, it does not matter who it is, to explain their answer or to defend what they say or to provide details, and you can listen to what they're saying and have a discussion with them and give them feedback on it. That's the old school way to do it before we had technology back in the day was, have everybody defend and explain their answer, look at their answer, provide feedback no matter what level they're on, and then move forward in that way. So there's a few good ideas right there. I think, again, in the educational world, we're going to have to embrace AI a little bit, which I think can be efficient. But if not, have kids explain their answer. You said earlier, it doesn't mean 10 more problems. You're right. It doesn't. Give them just a more in-depth problem or a 2-step problem or a problem that leaves out some information. There's other ways to ask one problem that will show you what you need to instruct kids on.
Right. Awesome. All right. I'm going to challenge you, bro.
All right, man.
I'm going to challenge you from an administrator's point of view and from a speaker's point of view. Have you heard of Alana Winnick from New York? She's an author through the Jimmy Casas publishing branch.
Okay.
And she was a guest last week on our show, and she was on the Unlock the Middle before I brought her in. And she's all about AI. And so there's this guy I know who doesn't fake the funk. He's known as Principal Cafele. And he was on the thread during that show. And then myself also, because you know what? I don't fake the funk. I'm straight out. If you notice, I'm legit. I'm talking to you as Josh, all right? I will always be Josh. I still use my yellow pad when I go do observations. I still, exactly. Hey, I still have my notebooks. I have 10,000 notebooks everywhere. All right. I have yet, besides Word that does autocorrect, I have yet to use Chat GPT or any of the 10 billion other, there's more than Chat GPT. That's what I learned. That's the only thing I've learned. There's more than one. And even Principal Cafele wrote on the thread during the first time we had her on the show, what do I need? How can I use as a speaker AI? So I ask you, Robert, teach this old man with 32 years that's been doing an effective job, haven't been fired yet, and Principal Café, I don't know, Jefe, if you're still on the call, do you still believe the same way about AI? Let us know. What are your thoughts?
Well, are you talking about my thoughts in terms of the use of AI, or are you on
for administrators and for speakers? Exactly.
You know, I think there's good and bad to it, of course. You know, I mean, and the kids are always one step ahead of us, so you gotta think about that. Now, not so much in elementary school, but definitely in middle and high school. I think it can be good. I really do. You know, if you can, going back to personalizing education, like we talked about earlier, if I can print off an article that is at the right lexile level, that has the right vocab words, that talks about a science standard, and I can teach the students the standards using that, I think that's a good thing. However, I think it can be a bad thing too, in the fact that we don't want to be too dependent upon it. You know, we need to have, kids have to have productive struggles sometimes. They're not, when they get the, for us, it's the SBAC. When they get the SBAC, they're not going to have a passage that they're just going to love to read about. So we're going to have to think about that as well. You can almost over personalize things sometimes, when in reality, you talked earlier also about testing. The test is the standard. The test questions are the standard we're supposed to get to. Yeah, well, they might say, well, the SBAC is some of it is tailored to the kids. Well, the questions aren't necessarily going to meet every kid's interest or anything. So we've got to kind of take the AI that's the good, that can pull kids in to love learning. But at the same point in time, we have to have things that students might not love so that they can practice that struggle as well. Because ultimately, the test that we're tested on is not going to be personalized. So again, there's some good and bad to it, I would say. As a speaker, how would I use it? I don't think, that's not my realm. That's not my area of expertise by any stretch.
How would you use it? I heard you at NASSP. That's a top dog conference. Yeah. How would you use it?
Again, I don't know if I would use AI in my presentations, because I don't know that it necessarily fits in what I'm trying to say. Well, I mean, okay. My big thing, like you heard me in Nashville, is it's more than just teaching. It's more than just teaching, reading, writing, and math, right? So I guess I could use as an example of, I'm trying to think, an example of ways to connect with kids. ChatGPT, give me a list of ways to connect with the students in my class. There it'll be. You can use it in that form. Could I use it as an example of a way to be, quote unquote, more than just a teacher by building relationships? Yes, I could do that. But I think also you got to go back now. I want to keep it personal and real life on my side, because that's where the emotion comes in with everything, and why you are more than just a teacher, or why the person to you is more than just a teacher. The computer is not going to ever have, I hope they don't ever have emotion connected to them. People do. So again, I think I could use it as providing an example of ways for people to connect with kids, but I don't think I could use it in a real world emotional type.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I got you. Just wanted to dive into that because I really don't have conversations with anyone about AI. And Frank, I promise you, brother, I want to embrace it. And trust this. What animal is it? Leopard or jaguar? I try to change my spots, and I try to learn new tricks, but I don't see how, like you, Robert, I follow this guy on social media. It's all about connecting with my kids. Everything that I do is a human factor, not AI. I don't need Arnold and his and that company coming back and taking over the human race. It's about me building relationships every day and making sure the kids feel comfortable, that every time they walk into the hallway, they feel that there's a sense of appreciation. And along my journey, I don't see how that has assisted me. I'm not negating the positive nature of AI, but just in regards to the pattern of behavior that I have as an administrator, I don't see it as a vehicle to making things easier. A certificate still needs a certificate.
So I see where you're going with that, but I think it's a growth mindset issue.
Okay.
You have to have another tool in the belt, like Frank says right there. If you can provide, let's say you have a student that's just struggling in reading, and all of a sudden you can provide an article about the one topic that he loves and ask questions about that one topic, and AI is going to give that to you. That's a good tool for teachers to use right there. And then you can say to ChatGPT, I need a math problem about multiplication that includes football or includes Taylor Swift, and it spits it out for you. Now the people that love Taylor Swift are more likely to engage in that problem. So again, I think it can be used for good and to connect with students in a different sort of way.
I got you. That's good. That's I see that. I see that angle. Because hey brother, I sound like teachers did when I was going back in the Stone Age with Fred Flintstone.
We're not that old, Josh.
Bro, hey, you know what? Hey, come on.
If you go vis-a-vis, did you use the vis-a-vis and you had to
smell it? Smell the dittos. Smell the dittos. Exactly.
When I was in elementary school, one of the big rewards is if you're the kid that got to smack the chalkboard together. That was the best thing ever.
Exactly. Hey, let's get into just so you all know, everybody out, the way the podcasting work, in case you're interested, some podcasters send you questions and expect you to write answers. Some podcasters send you questions that will be set scripted. Some people do what I do, that say, hey, give me some topics to talk about, and then we'll riff back and forth depending on the number of guests that you have, because if you have one guest, it's easy for us to go back and forth banter. If you've got 5 people, you got to select the time that each talk and make sure they don't ramble. So I wanted to ask you this. When you talked about themes for the school, I assumed, and don't assume like a coach says, because then you'll make up. Exactly. Are you talking about the way that we select like a hashtag for the year, that kind of theme? Is that what you're addressing, to make sure there's consistency in the philosophy of that cohort of kids?
Yes, to a degree. One of my big things is themes. I love them. So I'm going to give you an example. This year, our theme is Be the One. So at the beginning of the year, we'll invite the staff out to do an activity the night before they have to show up. This year we went to the KISS mini golf in Vegas to make a hole-in-one. So it goes back to the idea of one, right? And then we come in the first day of school. We do not talk protocol or anything like that in the morning. We're there setting things up, and basically it's gotten out to where they try to guess the theme, and it's kind of a fun thing. But I'll do a presentation, and this year what I did was I took 3 teachers who were featured in the book More Than Just Teaching, and they read their chapter about who was the one for them that made a difference in their life. And then we get to the end here, and I said, okay, I had Hal Bowman in the crowd. Nobody knew who he was. We call him the sound guy. And Hal Bowman is featured in the book also, and his whole presentation is Be the One for kids, basically. So then Hal stood up, and he started to share his story, and he went into his whole presentation. So our theme really is setting up to be the one for kids this year. Be the one for the school. Be the one for the community. Be the one for your colleagues. Be the one that helps students when they need it. And then we take it to the families and the kids. So the kids, be the one that is a friend when someone needs it. Be the one who is sincere. Be the one who helps other teachers or other kids, however you want to spin it, right? So it is kind of a hashtag or a mantra for the entire year. And I think when you do that, you can focus on one main goal that everybody can accomplish as a school. And that's what I mean by themes. So like the book Dream Themes outlines how this whole idea came about. And then this year it's Be the One. So everybody has a mantra that we're going to be the one that person needs, or we're going to be the one that gets them what they need. And then we just celebrate it. So we have cards the staff can write to each other when they see someone being the one. Parents can come in and they can write a Be the One card for any staff members. And we do a Woot Woot card once a month, and it has something to do with being the one. However you want to do it, but it's a year-long mantra that we just keep building on and building on. And we've done this kind of from the beginning of, I did it my entire career. But when we opened Thompson, the first year, our theme was be the wild card, because we were online in the middle of a pandemic and you had to be the wild card for those kids. You got dealt a terrible hand, but you were the wild card. And then the second year was relentless, Hamish Brewer. All right, now they're back on campus. We got to be relentless. We got to catch these kids up. We got to go. The third year was relationships over everything. That's where Brad Johnson comes in. And then the fourth year is live your purpose. Why are we here? Why are we here? And we just highlighted what everybody's purpose was. And when they're doing something for kids, they're living their purpose. Boom. And then now be the one. So again, they build on each other. But if you can keep that rolling and keep that going, now I've got a staff full of people who are the wild card when they need to be. They're relentless. They know relationships matter. They're living their purpose, and they're being the one that they were meant to be. That's powerful, and we're all focused on that goal. So when I say themes, that's really what I'm talking about.
Perfect. And you know what? It's a great thing, and just I think one of the things that fall by the wayside by many people that sit in our chairs is that they have good intent by doing that, Robert, but they have no follow through. They'll start off strong during a welcome back PD and maybe 2 weeks in. And after that, whoosh.
And that's the problem.
I lived it being a teacher in the classroom. And I would see, okay, so this is what that means. But then the people that sit in our chairs have no follow through. So then the theme becomes nothing.
And I think that's one of the things I stress in the books is you've got to follow through admin, and you've got to find your people. Otherwise, it goes by the wayside. And you can't do that. We as admin have to spend more time celebrating the good and helping the people than we do finding the bad. And if we do that, it turns the whole mantra of your school around. I think often so many times admin are focused on the potential negatives rather than celebrating the positives. And if they would just spend more time with their theme, finding those positives, making sure people have what they need, they'll find that their ROI is much more valuable on that side. I'm a person that trusts the people. I trust them. For me, it's Richard Branson. Take care of the employees and they'll take care of the clients. That's my thing. I trust you till I can't. And then if you mess up, that's okay. Now we're just going to work this together. We're going to figure it out together. I think one of the things we do is we just strangle, what Ron Clark calls, he calls them the runners and joggers. We cannot put reins on a thoroughbred. We need to let them do their thing. And then if they mess up, okay, well, if they're running, they're going to make mistakes. We're human. But then, all right, let's just handle that situation. And then basically, you hire good people and get out of their way. Give them what they need. And I don't understand that. I think if admin focused more on finding the good, celebrating whatever theme they have, and just letting people do the amazing work they do, they'll have a lot more success.
Bingo, I agree. Hey, let's peel the onion a little bit back. Your cap, your shirt, it means something. Tell the audience.
Yeah, like it's my whole thing's perspective, which is a fancy word for opinion. Like I said, my first book, it's all about perspective. And the cover says, the glass is half full. The other person says the glass is half empty. And the third one says, I'm just thankful I have a glass. In the end, everything's perspective, Josh. Your perspective on students could be the same as mine, could be a little bit different. But, it's what you have grown to believe. It's what you have grown to follow. And in the end, if you think about it, everything's about perspective. Whether you're talking about teaching kids, my perspective is hands-on's better than this, or some people, unfortunately, some teachers, getting back to what you said earlier, they believe whole group for 45 minutes is the best way. My perspective is that's not the best way. So again, in the end, it's all about perspective, which is just kind of my whole mantra with everything.
Yeah, and just to finish off this part of the conversation, I don't know if you've seen on one of my platforms, Robert, I interview kids from our campus. Mm-hmm. And I spend like around 20 to 25 minutes asking them. And not one kid, educator in New York. Not one kid, educator in Oregon. When I ask them, what's your learning style? Not one kid tells me, I love to be lectured to for 45 minutes. It is thebomb.com.
You're singing my song. Like I cannot differentiate differently. We spend I'm starting to rub my face, Josh. That's what happens when I get frustrated. And the staff knows it too. Like when I start rubbing my face, they're like, oh boy, he's rubbing his face. Teachers, especially, again, my perspective, especially in middle and high school, having middle school and high school students, kids, personal kids, we spend so much time wasting their time with things that they already know. When you watch admin, when you go to observe someone next time, sit during whole group and ask yourself, does every kid need this right now? The answer is no. Now, I've had some pushback from a teacher who I value greatly on staff, and she says, I understand what you're saying, but sometimes I need those students to drive the conversation whole group. Okay, fair enough. But they don't need to do it every day. So, one of Sean at the AP here, our big thing is, are you wasting people's time? And then, like we struggle. If you're watching whole group and the gifted and talented raises their hand all the time and the teacher's calling on them all the time, that's a layup. Those kids they know the answer. Choose the kid that struggles so they get another repetition with it. And differentiating differently. The kids that know it, send them to go do a higher order question or a different thing. And then you just have a smaller group in front of you for whole group. And then you can teach those kids. And then when 3 of those kids have it, okay, now have something for them. And eventually you're going to whittle it down and you're going to have kids out here doing things individualized. And the kids that need more repetition stay with you. So again, we've got to differentiate differently. For some reason, correct me if you think I'm wrong on this, educators seem to think we have all the time in the world. We don't. We need urgency. And when those 90%, my opinion, my perspective, 90% of the problems in your classroom or in a classroom are because kids are not taught at their level. They can they're bored with the work or they can't do the work. And so they start acting out. But if you differentiate more, you'll have less problems. They'll be challenged, and that will result in better outcomes for kids in all areas. That's just my belief. It's one of my true perspectives that I will die on.
Perfect. Love it. Exactly. And I agree. Oh, time to take a commercial break. Everybody out there. And no, Robert can agree with me. We do not make money from podcasts. We are not Rogan or we are not any of those guys. This is a fun, loving thing. I just like promoting great stuff. Like this cat right here, Robert. I like to promote, hey, Superintendent Glenn Robbins. If you are getting that frustration, which normally around March, you start, everyone in the whole education system, check out his book, Calm in the Chaos. That way you don't blow a gasket. Next week's guest, one of them, Kevin Curtis, Connection-Driven Classroom. And he gives you the 1, 2, 3 on how to do it and make those connections with kids. Awesome. A caveman like me, like the Geico commercial, understands it. And if you haven't read Barbara Bray's book with a guy who wrote a chapter in there, check out Barbara Bray's book, 23 educators, just like this guy right here. He got 25 with 50 stories. Well, we got 23 with 23 stories. Check out his book. Check out our book, because we all require that one moment of inspiration to remember what our why is. So let's get back to it, Robert. And you're one of those guys that is, I don't know, pardon the ignorance, and so I want to learn a little bit more about you. You already made the next step of educators that go into the circuit. When I say the circuit, I'm talking about the speaking circuit. So I saw you, one of the best conferences any administrator could present at is NASSP, or the local regional affiliates like us is TASSP, and then other different organizations. So tell the audience, number one, what inspired you to go into the speaking circuit? And when you do, what is your niche? So if I'm a speaker, I need to draw a PO, some of my Title I monies, when I call Robert, what am I getting from him? So what inspired you to be on the circuit, and what do you present?
So going back many, many years ago, I went to a conference in Tahoe, and I got to watch Weston Kieschnick, and he was fun. He was amazing. And just going to conferences and seeing these people inspire people inspired me. And it's just something I've always felt comfortable doing. I always enjoy it. And I try to really make it impactful. So one of my goals is to make you, well, Jim Valvano, I don't know if you know, the late coach for NC State. If you laugh, if you spend time in thought, and if you cry, that's a heck of a day. So I try to keep those three things at the forefront. We're going to have fun. I can guarantee you that we're going to have fun. But then, you know, I might get some tears out of you. I might, but the main thing is I want you to think. And so really I've found that that's just something I enjoy, is to try to make an impact by having people think about certain things. This, you know, the presentation that you watched was more than just teaching. It's basically about how teachers, like I said earlier, they don't just teach math and reading and writing. They're making an impact for life. And I go through a part where I talk about Karen, who I taught in 4th grade. I have her picture on my wall because I'll never forget her. But you always have those one student, or those students that say something that you're never going to forget. And I don't tell people what she said because it's in the book, so it's a selfish plug. But what she said will last with me forever, because it's more than just teaching. It is relationships. You are impacting their entire life as an educator. So the main one that you saw, which I'm doing it in Seattle at the conference again this summer, and also at ASCD in San Antonio this summer, it's more than just teaching. Relationships over everything. They matter more than anything. If you don't have a relationship with your students, they're not going to value you. They're not going to want to learn from you. So I really try to inspire and educate teachers that they're having a bigger impact than they can possibly ever know. And that's really, really my goal with more than just teaching. I also do one, I was keynote at a conference, which basically is called Start on the Sidewalk, which I talked about. And it just shows engagement strategies that we do here at Thompson. So it's inspirational in the fact that schools can do more if they want to do more. And we show ways that we do all kinds of crazy stuff. Math week, Rock Your School Day, first day of school, themes are blown up in it. But you'll get, for me, if you would like for me to come, if you want inspiration, I can do that. I can get the teachers to think about the person that made the biggest impact on them, and I can turn that into them making a bigger impact on students. Like you were great after the conference. You continued to name the people that made an impact on you. And that in turn validates what I'm trying to do, which is get people to think about these people, because without those people you named, you wouldn't be where you're at. And I think we have to remember those. So you're going to get fun, you're going to get emotional, and hopefully you're going to be inspired to do more for kids. That's really my goal.
All right, I'm going to do a big taboo, bro.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna ask you an awkward question.
Okay.
You're the father of many books.
Okay.
Which one's your favorite, and why?
Oh man!
I told you. I told you.
I'm gonna pick more than just teaching, because again, I was able to find. Well, it tells the story of Karen in there, and it talks about 25 educators, and it's about relationships, and they're so vulnerable in that book. They share what made them who they are. It's a personal story or stories. And how can you not just love that? I mean, 25 people opened up to me and trusted me enough to put their story and their picture. For all the teachers, we have their picture. We have their students' picture. Some have their favorite teacher's picture in that book. And they went and they took the time to help me construct a narrative about the person that they made an impact for, or the person that made an impact in their lives. So I have to pick that one as my favorite. They're close. I love them all. But when you talk about impact to a person, more than just teaching is my favorite.
There we go. Love it. I know it was going to be awkward right there, but
that's okay.
Thank you for sharing that. Hey, is there any, from all the writings that you have before you, and I am a brand new, let's just be stereotypical stuff that's coming to my brain. I've just been released from Google. I'm a computer engineer. I'm going to go into teaching, and I want to read a book written by Robert. Which one do you recommend for that alt-cert guy that has nothing or any connection with kids to say, hey, this one's the book?
So I'm going to come back to more than just teaching, because it's just my belief, my perspective, that without relationships, you're not going to have anything. You can be the smartest guy in that room, but if you cannot connect with kids, you're going to struggle. Classroom management also comes down to having a relationship with the kids. I don't know, we're old school, so we probably had teachers that yelled at us, or, that were a little more strict, firm.
Whoosh.
Yeah. Whoosh. That's kind of looked frowned upon these days. So you are going to have to learn how to connect with kids on a personal level. So I learned also a few years into my career that having a student know you're disappointed in them is more powerful than, raising your voice or doing anything. When you get down on your knee and you look them in the eye and you say, you know what, you made a bad decision and I'm disappointed in you, but I believe in you and I know you can learn from this. That's way more powerful than anything you could ever yell at them or anything like that. So again, I think the number one thing, no matter, you come from the business world or you come from the military or wherever, if you read more than just teaching and you see 25 people that connected with kids and made a difference in the life of kids through just knowing them, through little notes, through fun things that you did. One teacher in there just raced with them at recess. That's all she did. And that's how she connected with the kids. You learn ways to connect with them, you'll have a much better chance in the classroom. So that's the one I would definitely still push them towards. I just believe in it so much.
Man, we've hit AI and connections and so much on this show. Is there something we haven't addressed that, you have a big repertoire. Ooh, fancy word of the day for me. The repertoire. Is there anything that you feel that it's crucial that people need to know that's out there that we haven't discussed, my man?
Yeah, I'm working on I've got, for some reason, I have 90,000 book ideas. I don't know why. I'm just blessed to have them. It's the only way I can think of it. One thing I'm working on with co-author Shauna is we're going to try to write a book that's called Stop Eating Our Own. What I mean by that is educators do a terrible job of promoting the business. We constantly, and I'm generalizing, you're great, many people are great, but how many posts do you see online that says, oh, only 62 days left till summer break? Oh, that parent did this. Oh, my admin came in today. We're eating our own. We're not promoting our profession. And so if I could do one thing, hopefully the book will make a little bit of impact when we get it done, but stop eating our own. Stop dragging our profession down. It's a great profession. You're impacting lives forever. The old saying is every profession had a teacher. We have got to lift ourselves up and let people know that this is a great profession and that the ripple effects can never be measured.
Amen. I agree. Hey, teacher X or assistant principal also, because you didn't get the chair. Or, hey, assistant coach, because you didn't get the head coach and you've been there for 10 years. No one guarantees you that job. No one guarantees you the principalship because you've been the AP there for 6 years and I run it all. No. Hey, no one told you you're going to be this. Not at all. Hey, educator out there, Robert, agree with me or not, it's fine. But right now, it's a great time to be a free agent in education. If you're not happy at your campus, move. They'll take you. Go somewhere else to where you don't bring that toxicity, because it splatters all of us. Your poison post on Facebook in Wisconsin goes global if it's a good negative one.
I have found, yes, Josh, you're 100% right. I found many years ago, I kind of learned my lesson. Many years ago, I would put some negative stuff out there and some positive. And of course, the negatives get like 83 likes and the positives get like 3 likes. But I think one of the downsides to technology and to the world we're in is right now is people want their feelings validated too much. And so they'll put their negative on there to validate their negative feelings. And we have to put our positives on there and validate positive feelings more. So a few years ago, I did 100 positives throughout the year. I just posted positives, and I would get 1 or 2 likes. And that's okay because I looked for the positive. I retrained my brain. And it's a challenge that you can find negatives all day long. You can find negatives all day long. But try to find the positives. There's so many people on X everywhere that just, I had this kid walk in today and he didn't say good morning. He sat on his phone all day. Well, what did you do to try to build a relationship with the student so he'll maybe pay attention to you? Probably nothing. So I just think we're eating our own. We've just got to promote the positives more.
Bro, that's the book that needs to be out there. I agree 100%, 100%. And you know what? It's that time. Robert, it's that time.
It's time.
PGP. G is for ganas. You know what ganas is? You know what that is, Robert? It's a spiritual word, brother. Let me coach you here. All Hispanics, Panama, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Ecuador, Bolivia, all of us use the same universal word. It's just generational. There is no equivalent. There is no equate in English. There is none. Because it is an emotional connected word from generation to generation. You have grandma yelling at her son playing football. She's never seen American football, but she'll yell at him, échale ganas, mijo. You got mama seeing her daughter play the violin and the mariachi, and they'll say, con ganas, mija. You see, ganas is a spiritual word that really no one can equate to it. Like I said, it's generational. So on Monday, tomorrow, after the Super Bowl, we're going to need some ganas because, hey, those libations, guys, no, it's a work day tomorrow, right? Don't call in for a sub. We need you there at work. So I need you to inspire. I need you to inspire people. And it's a lightning round. Don't make me stop and go, that's too long. It's not a dissertation. I don't want a paragraph. It's a lightning round, and that's how we finish it. Are you ready, my man?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Give advice to a new teacher.
Be patient and know you cannot fix everything all at once. Pick one good thing, get good at that, find the next thing, get good at that. Don't take it all at one time.
Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
I got an email from a student. I was teaching a class online, and I talking about more than just teaching. He emailed me afterwards, and he said, a note to someone who is more than just a teacher. And it turns out he was in my class, and I also taught him in 4th grade. So he told me all about what he's doing now, and it was awesome.
Perfect. Send some flowers to a current educator that inspires you.
Right now, I'm going to send it to Josh Tovar because honestly, sir, we talked to earlier. Doing a podcast is hard. Talking to people can be hard. But, it's time, and you're spending your Sunday trying to impact people across the nation and the country. So you get the flowers for today.
Muchas gracias, hermano. Muchas gracias. Name one person that people should follow on social media.
I'm partial to Dr. Brad Johnson, honestly. He's just because he's all about relationships. And also, he's a colleague and a friend, but just a good guy.
Love it. One song, una canción that embodies your spirit as a person. Only one.
What's funny is I love the song Get Back Up Again from the movie Trolls because you got to get back up again. You march along with confidence. You're cooler than a pack of peppermints, but still, you got to get back up again.
That's original, brother. I love it. That's original. What's your favorite quote?
Oh, man. Now you're putting me on the spot. There's so
lightning
many.
Round. Lightning round.
The lightning round. I know. Think you can, think you can't. Either way, you're right. Henry Ford.
What is your favorite cheat food or sweet?
Hershey's with almonds.
There you go. What's your favorite TV show or book?
I love 2.5 Men. I cannot I watch it all the time. It makes me laugh all the time. I watch it, and I hope my daughters aren't in the room when I watch it right now, but it cracks me up all the time.
Love it. And if anybody out there wants some more knowledge, wants a speaker, wants just to chew the fat with you, how can they get a hold of you, sir?
So you can go to www.roberthinchliffe.com. You can find me at Perspective Inc. or it's Perspective Inc. on Linktree / Perspective Inc. Email me at Tyrone Thompson. You can find me online on Twitter. I'm attached to all of yours. When you're posting all of your stuff, you can find me. And if you want to find me, I will gladly work with you, help you. Again, my goal in life is to make an impact in our profession.
Awesome. Muchas gracias, hermano, por estar aquí. Thank you very much. Don't hang up, Robert. Join us next week for the Discipline Show. We're going to have a litany of educators that deal with discipline. If you're having issues or you need some more information to go into the card catalog, yeah, I said it, I'm old, into the card catalog of knowledge, we got that for you. And after that, instructional support. You know those people that come from central office to help you at your campus? We have a bunch of those people coming up. And after that, our happy show too, because it happens at the start of March. And when do things start happening? The Hiroshima, Nagasaki in March. You should see the lineup for that happy show. It is thebomb.com. Nothing but superstars that are here to motivate you. So thank you for being here tonight. Please like and share it. If you are on YouTube, please ring that little bell. I get no money, guys. I get nothing of this. It's free PD. This guy right here does a fabulous job. All the other tons of guests that we've had, and it's free for you. There's no excuses. Join us in the past or future shows on YouTube. Like it, share it. We love you. I love you. Thank you for being here and giving me some of your time. We'll see you next week for the PGP podcast, part of the Fantastic Four with Coach Hurt, Chico Houston, Tammy Taylor, and Principal Cafele. We'll see you next week. Thank you.